So that's pretty bold, channeling Steve Jobs. How many of you think I'll be able to pull it off? Jeez. Let's just go get drunk.
A lot of faith in this room.
Well, thank you. And a little backstory. Just Listen's done really well. And I had a couple books called Get Out of Your Own Way that did very well. But something I realized is there's a continuum between people needing something, wanting something, and they gotta have it. And what I realized is as long as I had stuff that people needed but nobody wanted, it was a tough battle persuading people. So everybody needs to listen, but nobody wants to. Everybody needs to get out of their own way, and nobody wants to. And frankly, what happened is I got tired of that. And I said, well, maybe I can find out what people want. And I said, I'm 30 years behind all of you people who have been doing that. And so I said, I'm just going to leapfrog all of you. So I'm going to figure out what people got to have. Because if you can figure out what people got to have, you don't have to persuade anyone to do anything. You just take orders, right? So I'm going to show you a video from the Lost interview with Steve Jobs. It's about a minute and 50 seconds. And the whole talk is going to be deconstructing that into a formula of 4 steps that creates gotta have it. And I'm going to give you several other examples. So let's see if we can play that now.
In 1979, Jobs, then all of 24, had a privileged invitation to visit Xerox PARC.
And they showed me really 3 things. But I was so blinded by the first one that I didn't even really see the other 2. One of the things they showed me was object-oriented programming. They showed me that, but I didn't even see that. The other one they showed me was really a networked computer system. They had over 100 Alto computers, all networked, using email, etc., etc. I didn't even see that. I was so blinded by the first thing they showed me, which was the graphical user interface. I thought it was the best thing I had ever seen in my life. Now, remember, it was very flawed. What we saw was incomplete. They'd done a bunch of things wrong, but we didn't know that at the time. It's still, though, they had the germ of the idea was there, and they'd done it very well. And within, 10 minutes, it was obvious to me that all computers would work like this someday.
It was a turning point. Jobs decided this was the way forward for Apple.
So all of my life, all of my professional life, I've been hacking into people. So I was originally sort of a heavyweight suicide interventionist. I would see people, well, give you a little background. So now I hack into people's futures and visionaries who want to recapture the ability to envision. Sometimes they lose it because they're running a company. And so that's what I help people with. But it started by hacking into people who had no future, and some of you, maybe a couple metaminds, may have heard this story, so I hope you'll bear with it, and people who haven't, I hope it'll reveal something. And again, there's a 4-step formula in these examples that I'm going to show you. So it was early, I don't know, probably middle 1980s, and I used to see highly suicidal people. My mentor, one of my first mentors, started the suicide prevention centers in Los Angeles and Washington, and he was at UCLA, and he would see inpatients who needed to be discharged, but they were still suicidal. But they weren't acutely suicidal, it was in their personality. But in order to discharge them, the residents didn't want to see them. He had to find some fool out in the community who would see them, and I was that fool. So at one point, 25% of the people I was seeing were suicidal, and you're only supposed to see 1 or 2. But there was a special moment that was a breakthrough, and Just Listen is all about this. There was a woman that I was seeing named Nancy, and she had made 3-4 attempts in the prior 4 or 5 years. She'd been in the hospital 3 to 5 months every year, and I didn't think I was helping her. And when she would come in 2 to 3 times a week, if you're me, she'd be like this. And I didn't think I was helping her. And then one weekend, I was moonlighting at a state hospital to make some extra money. And when you moonlight, you're up 36, 48 hours. And I don't know if you've ever been up that long, but what happens is your teeth get loose, your sphincters get loose, everything gets loose, and your mind gets a little loose. So there it is Monday, and I'm seated with Nancy. And I'm seated in the room, and you're me, and this is her. And then what happens is suddenly all the color in the room turns to black and white, and then all the black and white turns cold, chilling black. And I thought it was having a seizure or a stroke, so I did a neurologic exam on myself. I'm a psychiatrist, not a psychologist. So I'm going like this, and 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 she's like this. And then I had this idea, I'm all here. No stroke, no seizure. And then I had this crazy idea that I was looking at the world through her eyes. And I leaned into it. And years later, I talked to Reverend Jim Kowalski. He's the main reverend at St. John the Divine Gothic Cathedral up in Manhattan. And he said, you went into the dark night of the soul. And so I leaned into it. And I can tell you, just even telling you it, I can feel the chills. And it was awful. And because I was sleep deprived. And remember, there's 4 steps that I'll get back to. Because I was sleep deprived, I said something that normally I wouldn't blurt out. And I said, Nancy, I didn't know it was so bad, and I can't help you kill yourself. But if you do, I will still think well of you. I will miss you. And maybe I'll understand that you were in such pain you had to. And then I said to myself, did I think that or did I say that? I said, oh, I just said it. Don't put it in the medical record. And so she looks at me. It's the first time she looks at me. And I thought she was going to say, thank you for understanding. I'm overdue. And I look at her. I'm getting a little paranoid. I said, Nancy, what are you thinking? She looked right through me. And she said, if you can really understand why I might have to kill myself to get out of this pain, maybe I won't need to. And then the room came back. And she came back, got a PhD, has a couple kids. So I learned to hack into people from their inside out. And Just Listen is really a book about how do you listen to people from their inside out. There's a bunch of things I've done. In hostage negotiation training, you need to hack into perpetrators to unlock them and find a way to connect with them so they will disconnect from the gun or the hostage. And so can you see that? And again, that has the same 4-step formula. Then I crossed over kind of into the business world. So you know this is a setup, so I'll just get it out there because I want to be mindful of the time. If I were to ask you, what's the likelihood that a billionaire who thinks psychology is kind of loosey-goosey and is not particularly known for giving compliments, what do you think the likelihood that a billionaire would write a feature article for a major business magazine quoting a psychological type, as in moi, and then give a compliment to this person? Well, if you look up Eli Broad and my last name, the very first link goes to an article like this. And if you read it, it starts out with, wealth is what you take from the world, worth is what you give back. Me. And then he compliments me. Eli doesn't compliment anyone. I like the guy, but he just doesn't compliment anyone. So here's the backstory. And there's a method to my madness. So I had met Eli because he asked me some management question. I'm reasonably good about understanding people, and he told me about some situation. I said, Eli, I wouldn't do that. It's not going to work. This is what's going to happen. He said, it's already happened. I said, do this. He said, that's pretty good. So that enabled me to make a call, and he'd take my call. So I call him, and I say, hi, Eli, it's Mark Goulston. Yeah, I remember you, Mark. I'm in a rush. I said, are you going to write a book on philanthropy? I mean, you're pretty into that. He said, I don't know, Mark. I'm in a rush. I got to go. And then I said, and here are the 4 steps, and then I'm going to relate them all back to you. I said, Eli, 7 seconds. Wealth is what you take from the world. Worth is what you give back. Say that again, Mark. And I repeat it. And then he says, that's pretty good, Mark. And then I say, it's yours. Take it. I'll be a donor. It's a great title for a book. Now, I'm going to give you an experience of you going through the 4 steps right now. How many of you will see a Federal Express truck today? All of you have seen? Well, you've been here, so they're not here. But How many of you know the secret to the Federal Express logo? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you don't know the secret to the Federal Express logo? Okay, so if your hands are raised, I want you to cross your arms like this, and I'm going to show you the logo, and when I show you it, I want the people who know the secret to yell it out. So here's the logo, and I just shut it off. Oh, here we go. Here's the logo. What's the secret? The arrow between the E and the X. See that white arrow? They've won more awards than almost anything than Coca-Cola. And so, for some of you, and we're all kind of know-it-alls, I've just shown you something that, well, you can't teach me anything about Federal Express. Now, how many are going to notice that white arrow when they see the logo? Now, if you're stuck in traffic with someone and you run out of small talk, what are you going to say to them?
The arrow.
What are you going to say?
The arrow.
You're smarty pants. Do you see the arrow? Right? So here are the 4 steps that all of these followed, and they're pretty simple. What all of them followed is they created whoa, wow, yes. Steve Jobs, wow, I can't believe what I just saw at Xerox PARC. Wow, I'm seeing the whole future of computers. I'm going to do something with this. Yes. Why don't I form Apple? For Nancy, what was the woe? I was forgiving her if she killed herself to get out of pain. And the wow was, you don't think less of me? No, I'm feeling the tip of the iceberg. If it was me, I would have already killed myself. Wow, I don't feel alone in hell. If I don't feel alone in hell, maybe I could want to live. Eli Broad, say that again, Mark? Wow, that's pretty good, Mark. I gotta go. He writes it down. Forbes magazine calls me 6 months later. You got a quote. It's attributed to you. Take it. Right? And then the Federal Express, all of you crossed your arms. If I were to ask you when you crossed your arms, I will tell you at the moment you saw the white arrow, you became less aware of your arms crossed. Why? Because when you notice something, it opened your mind. So what happens is when you trigger, I can't believe what I'm seeing, Jobs, Federal Express. I can't believe what I'm hearing, Eli Broad. I can't believe what I'm feeling, Nancy. Do you see that? And what does this lead to? It leads to fascination, amazement, and astonishment. And fascination, amazement, and astonishment, they each or all have the power to safely disrupt people's mindsets. And then they get a taste of it and they like it. That's why some of you chuckled with the FedEx thing. Some of you just said, oh my God, because it delighted you. So you're seeing this? Oh, whoa, wow, yes. And then, so we have there's the whoa. The wow is the fascination. The is I can't wait to do something with that. I think I'll form Apple Computer. I think I'm going to stop trying to kill myself. And what does that lead to? It leads to yes, and my definition of innovation is creating something that gets through people's inertia and defenses and causes a standing ovation. So are you creating something that amazes, fascinates, or astonishes people, and then not only delights them, but causes them to take action? Why do we need woe before wow? I'm an evolutionary psychologist. Love neuroscience and evolution. So if you think about evolution, and if you go from amoeba to us, the amoeba had a nucleus. The nucleus was sort of running the show. And what happens is when you get to a primate brain, we have the capacity for our primate brain, which is 250,000 years old, to override our mammalian emotional brain and our reptile fight or flight brain. And it has the capacity to do that. The other thing it does is it enables us to specialize. It enables us to solve problems that the animals can't. But here's the problem. When you get too focused on solving problems, you have what I call the specialist dilemma. And the specialist dilemma is that when you get specialized, you get to be focused. This is why so many public companies, the directors do not know the name of the chief technology officer. It's just a function. We don't want to know his or her name, we just want it to work. And so one of the specialist dilemma is unless they learn how to talk outside of their silo, they're marginalized because they intimidate other people. And the problem, if they get good talking outside their silo, they're seen as lightweight by their fellow specialists. So you got to quack like a duck in both places. You got to still be able to speak technology with a technologist, but when you're out in the business world, no one cares about how it works. Make sense? So the prerequisite to disruption is this. And this is the wow. And I'm bringing this up because what you really want to do, you need to go back to your teams. And if you're not creating whoa, wow, yes, but especially whoa, wow, change it. Does that make sense? Now, one of my favorite companies is IDEO, the design company. And if you know anything about them, one of the things they do is they send psychologists, sociologists, computer scientists out there, and they say, be a first-class noticer. Notice what makes people smile, and see what that is. And smiling is something that's just delighting them, fascinating them. Notice what pisses them off, find out what that is, and then come back and report. So this is really, I think, what you need to do with your market is you have to go out there and find out what most excites them and what most pisses them off, and then create something that creates the whoa, wow, yes. So something I want to leave you with. This is one of my favorite quotes. I mean, you gotta let go of your mindset to look at what's ahead. And I think we'd all agree with this. And so thank you, Steve. This one's for you.